What's up, everybody? It's Greg Birch with Delta Financial, and this is the Be the Difference podcast. This podcast is all about making you a better person in your personal life, in your professional life, in your business, because we're going to talk about sales, leadership, entrepreneurship, marketing, mindset, and it's all about growing you and every single agent out there in the industry. With me today, I have the honor and pleasure of welcoming my good buddy, my good friend, my longtime compatriot, Mr. Kevin Vega. Kevin.
What's up, man? Compatriot. I love that.
How you doing?
Yeah. Fantastic. I'm pumped after that sound effect.
Yeah, I know, right? Dude, I'm telling you, man, I love this Rodecaster, bro. It's like I'm just like playing around with it, having fun. It's good.
It's another level. It's like you're a streaming DJ.
Yeah, you know, I was talking. Joey was saying, like, dude, you should make sure you're gonna have like mix tables.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how's it going, man? How's everything going? How's life?
Dude, everything is busy. It's busy. It's funny. I just had a call with my old commanding general trying to take care of some admin stuff. And he asked that very same question. Hey, how are things? You know, I said, well, sir, you know, it's busy. I'm busier now than I ever was as a major in your command. But things are good. They're fantastic because of the progress we're making. Yeah. In our first 6 months of existing, we've accomplished a lot, and it's very fulfilling.
Yeah. Oh, it's been unbelievably fulfilling. I was just talking to Zach, you know, I was like, dude, this is like, I am constantly going. Like, it's just, I live, eat, breathe, sleep. Everything is Delta to me because it's like my passion and my purpose. And I love it so very much, but I don't think about it during the day. I'm not like, man, I'm just working too much. I feel like I'm getting burnt out, this, that, the other. And I don't realize sometimes you look back and it's been like, dude, it's been like 2 weeks and we've done all this stuff. And you kind of look back and you take a snapshot of everything that's been accomplished. And it's pretty amazing, you know? And that's what happens. That's the power of being able to enjoy the things that you do.
And have it be part of like every fiber of your DNA. And I was laughing because when you said that, I had a conversation with Jess earlier and she's like, you know, you talked in your sleep last night. I was like, oh yeah, what did I say? I thought she was going to be like, say, oh yeah, you were with somebody else. No, she was like, you were thinking about work. I looked over and I heard you say, oh yeah, that's a good plan. Let's do it. So I know what you mean, man. Even my subconscious mind is dreaming of Delta and the things that we're going to do.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So for context, for those of you that don't know, Kevin Vega and I served in the military together. He was a major. He stayed in after I got out. He stayed in and continued service and rose to the next rank. And you know, he got to a point where he just said, you know what? Him and I were kept in contact. We talked all the time. We were always, you know, chit-chatting and hanging out and seeing each other, visiting each other. And I went and surprised him back last year on his birthday in March. And he saw what I was doing with insurance. He saw what I was trying to build and what I believed in. He was like, dude, I believe in this. Like, I want to be a part of this. And he forewent getting his retirement. Is that the right word? Forewent, you know?
Yeah, we'll go with it, man. Forewent.
Yeah. So he forewent getting his retirement, his lifetime pension from the military in order with 6 years left? 6.5?
6 years. 6 years, man.
6 years left to get his pension, his lifetime pension from the military, from the government. And he was like, nope, I want to build something else. I want to do this with you. And I believe in what you believe in. And that is the power of having a good culture. That's the power of leadership. So that's a little, I guess, down and dirty. Am I missing anything from that, Kevin? Kev Dog?
No, man. I just want to kind of empower that last little bit. The power of belief, Greg and I have seen the power of belief come to fruition and really bring an organization and carry them to the next level. When we bring in our military experience, that power of belief of bonding, camaraderie, it takes you to that next level. And really in the down and dirty, it makes sure that everybody comes back alive, because that's our currency in the military. Whenever we deploy, honestly, we don't give a damn about the mission at times. We want to make sure that everybody comes home alive. Yeah. And everything that we're building here, it's a spiritual successor from that. And that's what was so exciting when we had those conversations. And you weren't there for long. I think you got there like Thursday and you flew out, Monday?
Yeah, it was like Thursday. Just like, I think Monday morning.
Yeah, and for those that have known Greg for a while, this is when he was pretty deep in his, when he was running business in the field, doing appointments virtually with a different organization, right before he broke that company's record doing over 200K in a single month. And I saw him work and what he was doing at the time. And when in between the small amount of time that he had, when we had the conversations to really conceptualize what it is that he wanted to do, it aligned so much with what I wanted to be able to have in my life. And that is the power of Delta Financial. Our foundation is built off of that.
Absolutely. So, so Kevin, today we're going to talk. This is obviously, if you click the link, then you know what the hell this is. This is the leadership tab. This is when we bring on either staff or Kevin. I'm going to bring on Lexi, one of these. And the HCNRs, and we talk about a topic, and we kind of break it down. We hopefully give you some strategies, teach you something, maybe change your frame of mind or your perspective, get you thinking another way to help you in your recruiting efforts and your agency building. And so the thing we want to talk about today was pace setting. And pace setting is there are 6 different leadership strategies or leadership what's the word I'm looking for? Styles. That's it. I knew it started with an S. So 6 different leadership styles. Okay. They are split between compliance based and commitment based. So positional power, being in a position of power where people have to listen to you or comply based on you saying, I'm the boss, do what I say, right? That is compliance based leadership. Okay. Doesn't go very far. Then you have personal power leadership styles. This is people that are just good examples, and people want to follow their example because they're a good example. And there's something about that person. They're like, yeah, I like that person. They make me feel good, or they're very positive. They're always uplifting, and they're a high performer, and they're willing to help, right? That is personal power. And people commit to that because it's their decision, not because they're being told. And so out of the 6, one of them is called pace setting. And pace setting is when you have a super, super, very top performer that is operating at a level that everyone looks at and says, I want to be with the top performer. And so they're like, all right, follow me, right? And they take off and they do their top performance shit. And they kind of leave everybody in the dust because they're like, oh, you should just follow my lead and follow what I'm doing and you'll be fine. And it doesn't work that way all the time. For instance, let's say that you were trying to train with the top runner of the last year's Boston Marathon, right? If he was like, hey, or she was like, hey, let's go, and just took off, I don't care who you are. If you've not been running in the past year, they're going to smoke you in the dust. Like, it's just
right.
And you can run with them for an entire year. You're not catching up to them. It's just not, and it's probably going to be so demoralizing. You're going to be like, this is cool. I get time with them and I get to like train with them. But then about like 5 minutes into that run, when they're off in the distance and you can't see them, you're like, I'm not really training with them. They left me behind. This sucks. I feel miserable. My feet hurt. I got blisters. I can't breathe. Like, and then you're quitting, right? Because they weren't there to run beside you to say, hey, I know this sucks. I know this hurts. You're going to get through it. I'm going to teach you how to tap into your next gear. Get this in your head. Put this song on. Get on some journey. Let's go. Right. And they're not there to run beside you. And that's the concept that you've probably heard before in your leadership, which is I'll meet you where you're at. Meet people where they're at. That doesn't mean like I'm going to run, and if you're not running, then I'm not meeting you, because that's meet me where I'm at, right? It's hey, when you need to crawl, I'm going to crawl beside you to get you to where you're walking. When you're walking, I'm going to walk beside you till you have the strength to run. And when you're running, I'm going to run alongside you until you can sprint and you have the endurance to go the distance. That is meeting people where they're at. And so pace setting is the antithesis of this. And sometimes it happens, you don't even realize it. So why don't you tell a story, Kevin?
So the story starts with a very high performer His name is Greg Birch. And when we started Delta, we knew that we all had to get our hands in there and really row. And Greg did it at a higher pace than anyone else. So for those that don't know my role here, I am Greg's right hand. If he's the captain of the ship and he gives an order, I make sure everybody understands what that order is, what direction we need to go, and make sure that everybody has the tools and resources that they need to succeed in whatever it is that they do. Greg was not only providing that order, but he was running to the navigator. He turned the ship in the direction, and then he went down to engineering. He made sure that all the coal was put into the engine before I could even get there. He went to the weapons office and made sure that all the weapons were loaded, and then came back to me before I could do anything and gave me the next order.
Yeah.
Does that sound about accurate?
That's pretty accurate. Accurate. And then you'd be like, well, everything's taken care of. So what else can we be doing? And then you'd be like, hey, I got an idea. Hey, Greg, what about this? And you're like, I got this idea that we can add these extra little wings on the side of the ship and it might make it fly. And I'm like, bro, I already ordered them.
The wings are already there, man.
They're already there, bro. Look on the side.
It's like that scene in Days from Future Past with Quicksilver or whatever that guy's name, the speedster.
Yeah.
And he's just running around, tasting everything, putting everything in motion, and nobody knows what the hell is going on. That's exactly what you're doing when you were in God mode.
Yeah.
You're doing all that.
Yeah. And so it's, and so Kevin and I sat down last weekend, actually, or last week. It was like middle of last week. And Kevin and I sat down and he was like, dude, because we were having a whole long talk. We were talking all day, just talking about the business, and I was going over all my thoughts. And so Kevin has more organizational development and organizational leadership stuff that he's learned in the military because he stayed in longer than me. But then when I left, I got more like real world applicable leadership styles when it comes to 1099 civilian leadership style, stuff like that, on top of insurance strategies, building an agency, etc., that I've been able to use, like learn that strategies and implement what I've learned from the military and kind of combine those and do a lot of testing, tweaking, etc. So our both of our paths, kind of separated and went their own ways. And now Kevin, from where he's at, I'm trying to see where my hands are at. So Kevin's this way, I'm this way, and I'm going off. And Kevin's now trying to catch up to me, right? So we veered off in different paths and he's trying to catch up to me, but I'm still going, right? Because I haven't slowed down, I haven't stopped. And there's a lot of times that, I'm constantly thinking about this stuff. I'm constantly just running through ways that we can improve the business. What are challenges that we currently have? How do we overcome those challenges? How do I get the managers more involved? How do I teach the managers to get to level up, to get to my level, or get to 90% of me or 75% of me? Can I even do that? How do I do that? And it's a constant stream of how do I improve myself? How do I keep my axe sharp? How do I sharpen other people's axes and duplicate this to the nth degree? So, I see things a certain way just because of my experience. And so a lot of times I'll just sit down and Kevin and I will have a conversation. I'll say, hey, well, what do you think about this? And I'll be like, well, I wouldn't do this. And here's why. And I'll go through the entire, the breakdown and my thought process of what's going on. Right. And then he's like, okay, that makes sense. I see where you're coming from now and why you would make that decision. But a lot of times we don't have those conversations. So he's sitting there like, dude, we should be doing this more often. We should be having this kind of conversation way more often, and like twice, 3 times, 4 times a week, like just doing a dump of everything that's going on, what your thought processes are, what are the things in the horizon you're looking at, what's the 300-meter target that we're looking at, and that way I can be more effective, like an actual what we call force multiplier. And then he was very vulnerable. I'm gonna be honest. Kevin was very vulnerable. He's like, dude, you're like an unbelievably high performer, and you're going, bro. And he was like, and I can't keep up.
Yeah, he's gone plaid.
He's like, dude, you're on plaid mode. I can't keep up. And he was like, and I feel like I'm going to get left behind. And so it hit me in that moment. It hit me in the moment that I've been pace setting. And I was like, shit. I'm pace setting right now because I'm not I have this team of people, you know, with David, Zach, Joey, Kevin, Amber, Lexi. I have these team of people that all believe in Delta just as much as I do, just as much as me. And I could slow down and I could share the load a lot more and teach them. And then once we get moving, it might take a little bit longer to get moving at the pace that I was, but we will move so much faster and so much farther.
Because we have more mass.
Because we have more mass.
A hell of a lot more mass by doing that.
Exactly. So it was an eye-opening conversation with me. And I talked to Mitch about it, and Mitch was like, "Sounds like you've been pace setting, bro." I was like, "That's the same thing I was thinking, bro." That was the same thing I was thinking. So Mitch is a good dude. He's a smart man. So
he's fantastic for the organization. Anybody that's listening to this, you need to get in contact with Tyler Mitch Mitchell, because he is a force multiplier for your organization, and he will 10x it, help you 10x it, hands down.
Yeah, absolutely. He's I mean, if you're in insurance, he's probably not going to help you. Just FYI, it's just not going to happen, because he owns a piece of this company and he's intrinsically motivated to make sure Delta succeeds. So he's not going to work with the competition, but you know, he'd still help you out with some advice. He's just not going to work for you or with you in that sense. But if you're in any other sales organization, you're building a sales organization or a leadership team, when it comes to organizational leadership, organizational structure, lean methodologies, he's your guy. He's your guy. He's going to completely change your entire organization and make it like efficient and effective. F squared, son. Hashtag F squared.
That's right.
So, so when it comes to like, you know, you haven't seen the level of pace setting that I have in the industry. Have you witnessed? I mean, you kind of may have seen it. Maybe did you witness this in the previous company? Is this something that like maybe give some examples that other people, because my example may not be relatable.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, I haven't seen it personally myself. Like I haven't done it to other people, but I have seen other people in the same organizations, especially in the previous one, where pace setting is the dominant cultural value there. Mm-hmm. It's, I'm going to recruit the world, and if you can't keep up, then you're just left behind. And oh, by the way, we're not releasing you, so get to work. Yeah. But I mean, at least from my perspective, the most relatable way that I can discuss it is that pace setting in the military is really, you can only conduct operations as your lowest trained individual. So there's a movie out there, We Were Soldiers. And if you have seen it, there's a scene in there where they kind of show how the lost platoon became lost. Their platoon leader, previously when you were exposed to him in the film, the lieutenant colonel, the battalion commander, is assessing his platoon leaders as they, work out in the field. And he recognizes that this guy, quote unquote, wants to win medals. And you see him briefly, setting that pace, yelling at everybody, hey, you need to come on. We're going to be first, right? Because you remember as a PL, you had to be first at everything. You had to win everything. Yeah. So by the time they got into combat, that type of leadership style was what he knew and what he carried with. So by the time he saw the scout, he just went for it, and his whole platoon followed him. He didn't listen to what anybody else was saying. He just went because he knew that he could go and get there, and he led them right into an ambush. So setting a pace in an organization is vitally important because, like Greg had mentioned, even though individually he could speed through to the finish line, he's not going to have any mass when he gets there. He won't have an organization that's ready when he needs them to be ready, right? Yeah. Because not only do we generate revenue for the organization, right, and we help families, but we also need to support your decision-making cycle. Mm. If you're 10 steps ahead and you're looking back to get advice from people who have no idea what the environment is where you're at, we're not going to be able to help empower that, man. And the organization won't have mass.
That's true. That's true. I think probably the most common that you'll see is you'll have somebody that's a top producer, right? Like you just get it. Like all the kind of pieces. There's some people that it's like reading the Matrix. You just like see all the pieces and you're like, there's the code. I see it. It makes sense. And you're just like, I just got to do this and I can make all this money. Done. Like, and you don't mind grinding your face off and just putting your face into like a grindstone on the side of a hot plate. It's right, it's just getting to work and like through the pain and everything. You're like, oh, well, screw it. I'm making money. And so you do all these things and you start to get successful because you're fine with going through the learning curve, right? And then you start to say, oh, I want to build a team. I can tell people how to do this. And they don't think or act or even anticipate the same way that you do because they're at a different level. And you're just like, hey, follow me. And you take off and you're doing the stuff. And you're just like, it's easy. Just do this, right? It's just buy leads and dial them and set appointments and go sell your face off, right? Just go do it. And there's more to it than that. There's several subsequent steps that get people that don't think that way. They can't see the matrix code. They can't read it, that you have to sit down and break it down for them. And you have to break down all the steps and you have to build their confidence slowly. And you have to get them to where they're comfortable actually buying leads, or you have to get them to commit to buying leads, because you can't just tell them go buy leads. That's compliance. You can talk to them about leads and the power of them and what they want to do and what's holding them back. What would be the deciding factor that would get them to buy leads? Having that kind of conversation is vastly different. And when they commit to it, well, now it's power. Now you have people that are committing to it, and now you're there to walk alongside them. That means you have to slow down. That means you can't be running like mad in the field and just being like, well, follow me, because then you can't answer phones. You can't take calls. You can't return texts. You're tired. It takes time.
Mm-hmm. And it's something that we recognized early on in building a lot of our onboarding systems and platforms. So for those that don't know, Mr. Joey Watkins is not only an agency owner where he's doing everything to mentor everybody in his agency, like Greg was explaining, but he also has another responsibility. So after people graduate the career school and they graduate the Delta University, he acts as a liaison, because even when you explain it logically, it makes sense. Yeah, you just give them time, you give them everything they need, but everybody's flash to bang. So the point at which they understand and receive the information, and then the amount of time it takes for them to act on it, right? That time varies across individuals.
Yeah.
So we recognize that at the organizational level and leverage Joey's experience to liaise with that agent, to be a voice in the room when the upline is mentoring and counseling that agent, to say, hey, here's your checklist for success. Where are you at on this? Have you mastered your script? Really massaging a lot of the things that they need to do in order to be successful.
Yep.
And I want to do you want to do some of the stats and give some of those stats from career school? Because it's phenomenal.
Yeah, no, you go ahead. We got like 15 minutes, so we can do this.
That's fine.
And I'm
excited. So guys, the career school and the Delta University that we have here is something that's unseen in the entire industry. And that's not just Kevin Vega or Greg Birch saying it. Every single person that we have talked to about our process has said that at different levels within the industry and different ways that they interact with the industry.
And we've had actual agents go through that are not a part of Delta that I have relationships with, just so they could give their honest feedback. And everything has been phenomenal. So
every agent that has gone through our entire onboarding system and graduated the career school in Delta University, it takes them 13 and a half days to write their first piece of business on average. Yeah. Now, how much more powerful would your organization be if you had agents that were highly committed and had the power of belief behind their actions to write that first piece of business in 2 weeks? Because when you were at a different organization, Greg, how long did it take for somebody that you brought on to write their first piece of business?
Oh, bro, I was lucky within the first 30 days. From the time that we did contracting, first 30 days, it was, lucky.
Yeah, your average was probably like 45 days, right?
Yeah, like 45 days, if that. It was by day 60 if I knew if they were going to be on the book still or not. Or if I was going to be ignoring them.
And within 60 days, how much did you accomplish and just go beyond that person, like when they first started onboarding?
Yeah. That's dude. It's unbelievable the difference when I really sit down and think about it. I'm like, damn, it would take at least 30 days. Usually about 40 days was when I start to see the first policy come through.
Yeah. And also something else that we've implemented is having an agent profile. Everything that an agent does, from filling out the application to the interview to their application to career school, all of that is built into an agent profile that gets handed off to an upline. So when they counsel and interact with this agent for the first time, they already have something in front of them that's measurable that says, hey, this is who this person is. This is how they want to be communicated. These are the goals that they have in this industry with Delta Financial. Like, how much more powerful is that mentor relationship when you have all of that on hand to talk about and discuss? It's we're building something very great here. And I wake up every single morning excited to serve everybody at this organization and our partners.
Yeah.
I cannot say enough positive things about the partners that we have in Quility and some of our other external stakeholders. Like, there are amazing people in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing those stats, bro. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
That plays a nice applause. A nice applause. Oh man, I'm gonna have
That's
fun
me every time.
I'm gonna have fun with this thing. I got a couple other ones. That's Halloween.
Yeah, it is Halloween. We're going to be doing a Halloween podcast, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, it's happening. So Kevin, thank you for coming on board and sharing a little bit about that. Just having a quick discussion about how I could improve with my leadership. And I think that's important because I try to always get better in myself every day, mentally, spiritually, my leadership, physically. If you think that you've made it, you haven't. And I'm a firm believer in this. And if you listen to people like John Maxwell, then you'll realize that there are no leadership experts. There's just students of the game. And there's people that are perpetual students that are a little bit farther ahead. And there's people that are a little bit behind. But there is no leadership expert because it's a dichotomy. There is no right answer. There's just varying degrees of what's best within the situation sometimes. And varying degrees of what that best is. So this has been the Be the Difference podcast. Thank you so much for taking part. If you got any value from it, if you learned anything, if you grew, if it changed your perspective, then do me a favor. And that means it provided value. And I want you to do what's called a value-based exchange. That means you're going to share this content with another person that might learn something from it, that might grow from it, that might change their business. Who knows? But you could actually be the catalyst for that person and say, hey, I think this is some information that might help you. And it does help them. And we all win together. This is for everybody in the industry or any sales industry. That's fine too. Thank you so much.